Hey, you guys, welcome back. Let me start this by reading Psalms 25, verse 6 and 7. And I named this "Do Not Remember." But check out what the psalmist asks of God before he says, "Do not remember." He says this: "Remember, O Lord, thy compassion and thy loving kindness, for they have been from of old." And then the psalmist goes into the "do not remember," as if God can forget. Check out what the psalmist is asking of the Lord. "Do not remember the sins of my youth." Wow. And then, "or my transgressions." You know, I looked up transgressions because I kind of went, what's the difference between sin and transgressions? Because he says sin of his youth. Sin of my youth, I can go, oh my gosh, that was easy. I mean, I didn't even look to God. I didn't make any attempt to say when I sinned. It was just, I didn't even know there was a difference. But when I looked up transgressions, it said it was a willful pulling away from the law. It was willful, so it had to do with knowledge of the law, but breaking the law. And I tell you what, I was very embarrassed at how often I found myself saying, wait a minute, this wasn't ignorance. This sin wasn't ignorance. It was willful. As a believer, it was willfully saying, I'm not going to do that, or was willfully saying, I'm going to close my eyes and do that because I'm just going to be in disobedience. And I don't mean to confess that as if I am going, wow, good for me. I recognize it. I'm saying it because it ought to amaze us, the love of God, the loving kindness of God, which is the first thing the psalmist says. Remember, O Lord, thy compassion and thy loving kindness. And it makes me wonder, you know, the disciples, after 3 years, they walk with Jesus. They sleep where he sleeps. They eat where he eats. They hear him. They see him confronting the Pharisees and the Sadducees. After 3 years, when push comes to shove, they take off. They take off and run and hide and say, you know what? We know what the religious leaders think of this man, and we don't want to be standing next to him when they pronounce him guilty for whatever they're going to drum up. And I hope that would encourage us. The disciples took off because they were not paying attention, I'm convinced. It was Jesus. He was the one they were looking to, and they were amazed at him. If you and I are having a hard time proclaiming Christ, declaring Christ, it's because we've got our eyes off Jesus. He's got to be the one still that puts it in me. He's got to be the one that motivates me. He's got to be the one that gives me the strength I need. Keep your eyes on Jesus. And amazing is his grace that forgets our sins and our transgressions. God bless you. And here we go to see what Jesus is going to do with my life and your life. Here we go.